Hey guys, welcome to the visAERIAL channel, a new channel that I'm starting out. It's going to be covering some of the drone operations I'm going to be doing in my area. I just today passed my FAA Part 107 certification test with a 90%, which I'm super stoked about. I wish I hadn't missed those 6 questions. The 6 that I missed were really simple questions that if I had just studied a little bit more, I would have known the answers to those, and I might have even aced the test, because the 6 that I missed were really easy questions, but I hadn't covered those in my preparation. The way that I prepped for the test was all watching videos. I watched a bunch of videos on YouTube. Tony's video in particular was very helpful. I watched probably 4 or 5 different Part 107 videos on YouTube, and also I did read through the Airman instructional guide that the FAA has linked on their drone website. So I did read through that, but I obviously didn't study these particular questions, which are actually Part 38 questions and Part 35, I think, questions. Not all 107 questions. So when you're prepping for the test, make sure you also look over those other parts of the CFR 14 curriculum. Otherwise, you'll be like me and you'll get a score that you feel like you should have done better on. So I wanted to make a quick video and cover the 6 questions that I missed so that you guys can prep for the test a little bit better and make sure that you cover these. Obviously, the 60 questions that I got aren't necessarily going to be the 60 questions that you got on your test. Most of mine covered sectional charts. I did have a few questions about alcohol and pharmaceuticals and how that affects you. I had a couple of the mental state questions that have to do with, machismo or impulsive behaviors and how to recognize those and what to do. I probably had 4 or 5 of those. And the 6 that I missed are pretty simple. I'm just going to quickly cover them and tell you what you need to look up. I haven't yet looked up the correct answers for these, so if you're looking for the correct answers for what I missed, I haven't researched them yet, but I know that the answers that I put down were wrong, and I'll tell you what I put down so that you can study the correct answer and be better prepared when you take your 107 test. When you leave the testing facility, they're not going to let you take any materials with you, so I had made notes of the 10 or so questions that I wasn't 100% confident on. I went back and reviewed those, and I actually changed a couple of answers, which paid off for me in the end, because those questions that I revisited and changed, I got correct on the test. So the 6 that I got wrong, I did not revisit. So they're questions that I didn't answer a second time. And I felt confident when I made my answer that I was answering those correctly because they seemed pretty simple at the time. But now looking back, obviously they weren't as simple as I thought they were. And I shouldn't have really missed them. I should have prepared better, but I honestly did not study Section 35 and 38 at all in preparation for the test. And I should have. So without further ado, let me give you the questions that as I recall them, because I wasn't able to write them down and take that with me, but these are the 6 questions that I recall missing, and I have not looked up the correct answers, so you're going to need to study and look up these correct answers so that you know what they are. I'm going to look them up later, but at this point I wanted to make this video while the questions were still fresh in my mind so I can give you the best information I can, and you need to do your homework so that you have the correct answers when you go take your test. The first one is regarding an address change. The question was, how many days after you change your physical address do you have to notify the FAA? And I didn't know the answer to that. I put 30 days. I thought that was a reasonable amount of time. The options were 30, 60, or 90. 30 days was incorrect. So obviously it's 60 or 90 days that the FAA gives you to register your change of address and update your information in the system. So look it up, know which one it is. Dual country drone registration. So obviously I've registered my aircraft in the United States here with the FAA website and got my reg number. What I didn't know the answer to was how that relates to dual country registration. So the options were given that you could only fly it in the U.S., you could fly it recreationally in both countries, or you could fly it commercially for profit in both countries. And that's the option that I selected. I selected that it was possible to register in both countries and fly it for commercial purposes, and that is wrong. So you need to look up which answer is correct. It's a simple question. It's something I should have known, but I didn't know what the correct answer was. So look that one up. The third question that I missed that was I considered to be a simple question, but I didn't know the answer to, was regarding wing loading. I did study wing loading, and I understand stalls and how airflow over an aerofoil functions, and how the loading increases anytime you turn, you increase the wing loading on the wing, although it doesn't increase what they call significantly until after 45 degrees of turn. Now, I did have one of those questions where you calculate how many pounds the effective wing loading is at a certain bank angle, and that one I got correct. But this question was regarding wing loading other than straight and level flight, and the three possible responses were flat turn, a non-powered stall, or a steady state climb. Okay, and I answered the non-powered stall affects wing loading, and that was wrong. So you need to look at the other two, and I'm guessing it's flat turn. I'm guessing that anytime you're turning an aircraft, a winged aircraft, that wing loading is affected even if it's considered a flat turn. I'm guessing that's the correct answer, but you need to look that one up so that you know what it is for sure. I also missed an MOA question. The question I was given was regarding the Devil's Lake MOA, Military Operations Area in North Dakota, and to the east of it, if you're flying operations there, in the eastern part of the MOA, what possible hazards are you going to face? There were three different options. One was high-speed aircraft, one was possible airborne artillery and airborne aircraft. The third was general aerial operations above 150 knots. That's what I selected, and that was wrong. So it's one of the two other questions. The way that I went into it and what I was thinking when I was sitting there looking at that question was that because it's restricted airspace and not prohibited airspace, I don't think it had to do with possible projectiles in the airspace. But that's something you need to research and prepare for on the test. Know what kind of operations could be going on in the MOA and what you need to be aware of when you're flying in that zone so that you get that answer correct. And the last question that I missed was regarding temporary flight restrictions. It gave three different possible scenarios as to why a TFR would be issued. One of them was weather. That's what I selected, and I was wrong. So don't put the weather answer for that question. That's incorrect. Research that question, know the correct answer for that before you go in to take your test. When you get the results of your test, they will give you the 6 codes here that you can look up these incorrect responses in the reference guide, and you can study those sections and know what the correct answer is. And I'll read off the codes for you guys so that you can double check the 6 answers or the 6 questions I just gave you that I got wrong. All of them start with a PLT, Papa Lima Tango. The first one is 003, the second is 248, the third is 323, fourth is 376, fifth is 393, and the last one is 530. So if you feel like you want to look those up so that you can be better prepared, all of the materials that I watched preparing for this test and reading through the reference guide, none of that stuff, well, some of it was obviously covered in those guides, but a few of those questions that I got wrong that I considered to be simple questions that I should have known, I don't recall hearing them on videos or reading them in the reference guide. So that's why I'm putting out this video, so that you guys can be better prepared. I know the FAA is constantly changing this test, you know, and your questions may be completely different than the ones that I got, but these are just 6 that I missed. I felt fairly confident that I was up in the 90 percentile after taking the test and completing the test. I hit 90, but obviously I missed a few easy ones, and should have known those. When you go in to take your test, they'll give you 2 hours to take it. I actually burned up an hour 45. I think when I clicked the finish button, I had 15 or 16 minutes remaining. I don't think it would have improved my score to go back and review anymore. I had noted about 10 different questions that I thought I could have potentially answered incorrectly, and none of these were of those 10 that I had written down. So obviously I felt pretty confident in my answers, and the 10 that I wrote down I must have gotten correct, because these 6 weren't those. Anyway, the testing was really easy. Went in there, showed my driver's license, paid my $150 with a swipe of the card, and was good to go. Stuck me in a testing room with 3 terminals. No one else was in there, just me. I had the Airman's Reference Guide to go through, but as you know, that not all of this material is covered in that reference guide. I tried to flip back and forth throughout the whole guide and see if I could glean any more information for the 10 questions that I had written down, but none of these 6 I had written down, so I guess it wouldn't have really helped me. But there's not a lot of definitions in that guide for things like wing loading and things like MOAs. There's general descriptions, but not a lot of definitions. So be sure you're prepared for that stuff. Hopefully this helps you guys out. So make sure you prep a little bit better than I did, so you can get a little bit better than I scored on the test and get your FAA certification, so you can go out there and make some money with your drone, like we're all hoping to do. So now I've got to wait a couple days after you take the test. You've got to wait for them to update the results in the FAA system, and then you have to go in and fill out a form. That's an online form that is a subdomain of the FAA website. You fill out your form and register there, and then they'll send you your certification. I've heard that it could take up to about 2 months. I know the TSA has to do a security background check, so that could be a little bit of time before I get my actual license, but I'm hoping that here in a couple days I will at least get my registration license number, so that I can go out and start pursuing some work with this investment here. So that's it, guys. Just a quick video. I wanted to make this while the questions and some of the questions were fresh in my mind, so I could give you the best information I can. Good luck on your 107 test. Prep as much as you can. I think studying videos online is a great way to do it. I didn't pay for any extra materials. I didn't download any apps on my phone. I just watched a few videos, read through the reference guide, studied what I thought was relevant. Obviously, I knew that there were some areas that I wouldn't know. I thought I could wing it and figure out the correct response of the three possible answers to those questions. And I was overall mostly successful. Anyway, guys, that's going to wrap it up. Good luck with your test. Thank you for watching. Please post a reply. Let me know if you passed your test, how you did, and pass on any tips that you can to other guys who are prepping for this test, so that we can all help everybody, help each other get this licensing and move on with our 107 and move on with the business opportunities that abound right now for drone work.